A few years ago, a creator named Sierra Thompson caused an uproar when she said that one of the most dangerous groups in the US is white women. What she was referring to is the long history of white women's lies leading to horrifying acts of violence against black Americans. For example, in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a 19-year-old black teenager named Dick Rowland accidentally bumped into a white woman named Sarah Page in an elevator. Page screamed and ran away, and a lie spread that Rowland had assaulted her. This gave a white mob the excuse to go on a murder spree that left hundreds of black people dead in what came to be known as the Tulsa Massacre. 2 years after this massacre, something similar happened in Rosewood, Florida. When a white woman named Fannie Taylor falsely accused a black man of assaulting her, a white mob went on a rampage through the black community, murdering dozens and throwing the bodies into mass graves. In 1955 in Mississippi, a white woman named Carolyn Bryant lied and told her husband that a black teenager named Emmett Till had tried to assault her. That night, Bryant's husband went out and kidnapped Emmett Till, tortured, and murdered him. Neither Carolyn Bryant nor her husband ever faced any consequences for their actions. This dark history is the reason why Sierra Thompson argued that white women can be so dangerous. And she was also responding to several cases across the country in the past few years where white women have called the police on black people, putting their lives in danger. For example, in 2020, a white woman called the police on a black man birdwatching in Central Park after he asked her to put her dog on a leash. Because police encounters with black Americans so often turn deadly, many people argued that by simply making that phone call, this woman was setting herself up to be an accomplice to murder. If we look back at history, what we find is that sometimes white women have played a terrifying role in the violence against black people. And there were even some women who made a career out of calling for this kind of violence, both in the United States and around the world. In the 1920s, Ray Beveridge, a former actress turned right-wing activist, went on a speaking tour across Germany where she protested the presence of black troops in that country. As part of the Versailles Treaty that ended World War I, the Rhineland in Germany became a demilitarized zone. And when the French army occupied that territory, they enlisted black soldiers from Senegal. People like Beveridge began a racist campaign calling for these black soldiers to be removed from Germany to protect white women. Her speeches were titled The Black Horror and The Black Shame. One way that she drummed up racist fears was by constantly warning about the threat of mixed-race children to the purity of the German race. During her tour of 25 German cities, Beveridge warned about the brutal cravings of these savage blacks for white women. In one speech, she said that the Negro has much less capacity to think, but much stronger sensual feelings than the white. She said that black beast with a wild erotic drive would assault white women, white girls, and white boys. She spread blatant lies about how the victims of this unregulated passion of black men would often be found close to death, their bodies torn through the brutal attacks, some of them with wounds from bites, which showed obviously how the wild black beast had fallen upon its victim. Every single time Beveridge gave a speech, she would include dozens of outright lies, such as that 60% of the children of mixed race were born with syphilis, or that in German brothels, every girl has to satisfy 10 black men every 3 hours. She even took propaganda photos like this one, where she held a well-nourished black child and a malnourished white child, trying to claim that black children were treated better than white children in Germany. During her speeches, Beveridge constantly used the N-word when describing black people, and she argued that the use by France of black troops on the Rhine was detrimental to the culture of the world. She instructed her listeners in Germany to solve this problem the same way that American men did in the South, by lynching. She told them, "Your weapons have been taken away from."
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video from. As you know, I'm your host and presenter Ejidok Stories. There's this part of history that is not often being talked about. Well, I think that it's imperative for us to always have a talk in crucial things, especially things reflecting on history and majority of the things that people overlook. We all know that slavery happened. But one of the things that people don't ask themselves, what was the role of white women in making the lives of black people become so much difficult? Remember, even when slavery ended, still what happened is black people still suffered in the hands of white women. And even during the slavery also, black women still, white women still records high numbers of, trying to make black people suffer. And this is psychological. Let me explain it to you. You see, during the slavery, that was one thing we call it male chauvinism in the white community. The man was given so much power. The man felt like he could control everything, and this psychologically made white women become to feel so much like low. They're not like of the standard as men. So there was only one way to prove that they had power. How? When they decided that they are gonna be exercising it on black folks. That's just how they could prove that they are powerful. And so when you get to see all these sequence and how it all happened, you get to realize that it only led to the suffering of black people. And now, fast forward, even in later on after slavery ended, and black people were now free. This was something which was still dominant. This was still something that was still going on. Remember, so many black people have been in jail because a white woman thought that, it is okay to just accuse a black man falsely. Some of these people, like Emmett Till, things that happened in the Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all these things that happened, still predates back to the role of white women in making black people suffer. So the theme is the role of black women. The role of white women. Sorry, I don't know why I keep on confusing that. The role of white women in making black people suffer. So brothers and sisters, I really want us to watch this video, and then I'll be back because the videos are so much educational. We are just trying to show you that part of history that often people, that is in the blind spot of everyone, especially when you talk about history. So, white women, this is not something that is personal, but I think we gotta talk about it. Probably it is not you who did it, but maybe your ancestors, or still, some of you are still doing such same kind of thing. And we have seen this enormously happening. This is not for the first time this is happening. So brothers and sisters, I want us to watch this video, and then I'm going to be back. I'll be giving my thoughts and commentaries in regards to this. And for those who are watching me for the first time, I'm your host and presenter, Jidek Stories. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking your time always watching my videos. Kindly make sure to subscribe. If you're always watching my videos and you haven't subscribed, I'll kindly ask you to please subscribe to the channel and really get to see what we can offer you, right? Just humbly asking. So let's get into the video. I'll be back with my thoughts and commentaries in regards to this.
But there is always a rope and a tree. Take up the natural weapons used by our men of the South. Lynch, hang every black who assaults the white race. Often crowds of 50,000 Germans would listen to these speeches, which Beveridge was paid extremely well for. Another white woman who called for the lynching of black men was the feminist Rebecca Latimer Felton from Georgia. In 1897, she warned that black men were roaming America with a license to degrade and debauch. During one speech in Georgia, Felton said, "If it needs lynching to protect white women's dearest possession from the ravening human beast, then I say lynch, 1,000 times a week if necessary." Now, it's important to note that these accusations of an epidemic of black men assaulting white women were completely false. In the 1890s, the anti-lynching activist Ida B. Wells conducted in-depth investigations into these charges. She found that in a majority of lynchings, the accusations of black men assaulting white women were false and were only invented later as an excuse to justify this racist violence. The fact that white women played a key role in racism and white supremacy should come as no surprise. From the moment that enslaved Africans arrived in the Americas, white women were critical to the maintenance of slavery and white supremacy. In the book They Were Her Property, Stephanie E. Jones Rogers shows that white women employed management techniques that were as effective and brutal as those used by slave-owning men. White women actively participated in the slave market, profited from it, and used it for economic and social empowerment. The role of women in white supremacy hasn't gone away either. Ever since Trump won in 2016, many people have argued that his victory was rooted in white supremacy and racism. And white women played a key role in electing Trump in 2016 and 2024. Also, in the past few years, we've seen a disturbing rise in white women openly embracing anti-black racism and being proud of their potential to cause harm to black Americans. In 2018, Mississippi Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith told an audience that if she was invited to a public hanging, she'd be in the front row. Many people pointed out how disgusting this statement was, considering that Mississippi had the highest number of lynchings of black Americans in the country. For decades, 2 to 3 black people were publicly hanged or burned alive in Mississippi every week. In 2019, a white woman named Nancy Goodman was caught on camera calling a black woman a stupid N-word in a restaurant. When she was later asked about the incident, she said she would happily use that word again. More recently, a white woman named Shiloh Hendricks called a black child the N-word at a park in Minnesota. When she set up an online fundraiser, she raised over $600,000 from people who left comments like, "White unity will unite," "Whites stand strong," and "White rise." After this story spread around the world, a white woman named Lily Gaddis went on the Piers Morgan show, and she not only defended Shiloh Hendricks using this racial slur against a child, but she admitted that she frequently uses the N-word herself. When white women admit to using the N-word and take pride in their ability to weaponize their whiteness and put black lives in danger, they are following in a dark legacy in this country that goes back to the days of slavery and lynching. That's why it's been so disheartening to see some white women come on this app and talk about how they have black fatigue. Whenever any white person uses this phrase, we all know what they're really saying. Black fatigue is just another way of saying the N-word. And we've seen this kind of rebranding before. We saw how in the early 2000s, white people started using the word thug instead of the N-word. We've seen how racists used the term alt-right when they were really describing the same white supremacy this country has always dealt with. What's so troubling about this conversation around black fatigue is that it fits into a trend of white women gaining influence by using racist dog whistles. When people like Ray Beveridge spread her hatred in the 1920s, she reached thousands of people. Thanks to social media, the Ray Beveridges of today can spread their hate to millions. Now, I want to make it clear that by covering this information, I'm in no way saying that we should condemn all white women, or use this history to incite violence or hatred against any women. We can't change the past, but we can change how we act in the present and how we work together to build a better future. We have to stand up and condemn racism whenever we see it, no matter who it comes from. Because the only real fatigue comes from living in a country that is still poisoned by racism and division. The only way to move forward is united as one.
These are some of the people that understand the system of American and how American works. And these are some of the people that can actually air up to the truth and tell you exactly what you need to know. You know, for a lot of them to come out here and be like, oh, black women are the problem, black women are too loud, black women are these, I can't just stand a chance of hearing that. And we still have to digest this video deeper. You can see from this particular clip I'm rolling out that white folks are the one exposing themselves. White folks are the ones saying it exactly as it is. White folks are the ones saying, can we admit the truth? We are the problem. We have literally been the problem. We have been the case of this particular country. We have started our atrocity from then, not even now. So can we just identify that? Can we just accept that with our full chest? I love it when I see some of these white men coming to educate their fellow white folks. But anyways, Welcome to the channel. My name is Sonia. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Credits belong to the original creators of every single clips and stitches we have in today's episode. I want to say a very big thank you to every single one of you liking, commenting, sharing, dropping super thanks, and also joining my membership. I do not take you guys for granted. You guys are absolutely the best. With that being said, let's dive right into this video properly. I'll be back with commentaries.
White liberal women are the most dangerous species in the United States. I repeat, liberal white women are the most dangerous species in the United States.
Because white women are dangerous, and white women have always been dangerous. Non-white women cannot assume that a white woman is an ally. In the same way that us women cannot assume that a man is an ally and that he's a safe person, women of color have never been able to assume that we are an ally. We have shown historically that we are an ally when it benefits us and we need the numbers. Does this necessarily apply to you? Absolutely not. I don't know you. But if you take offense to this and you don't understand why I said it, or you don't understand the historical context, then that's on you. Beyond just not being an ally, white women have been dangerous historically because they have got black men killed. Black men have been lynched simply by a woman being uncomfortable, the black man around her. White women are dangerous because they refuse to learn. They refuse to accept and acknowledge their internal biases and their internal prejudices and their racism. An example of this just recently, actually going on still, I'm going to name names. There's a white woman on here that has a pretty big platform who said data centers should be put in the bad communities and leave the good communities' water alone, and specifically pointed out Flint. Here we are talking about Michigan again. Now, when she was called out about how that was racism, she didn't say, oh, I'm wrong. I need to look into this. I need to learn about this brand of racism and why I've internalized it so much and why I would think that it's okay. She blocked people. She cried about it. She's made multiple apology videos without an apology. Been unwilling to learn. White women and their unwillingness to learn makes them dangerous. And it's important that we understand that and recognize it, and we acknowledge that it lives inside of us. There is systemic racism and it's deep down inside of us, and we need to actively combat it. Turning our heads and shutting our eyes is not going to get us anywhere. White women are dangerous, and we need to accept that so that we can change it.
Have you guys noticed how white liberal women have become the new punching bags of the right, the new boogeymen of the right, especially in the wake of Renee Good's murder? I've seen conservatives refer to white liberal women as the most dangerous demographic in America and say that white liberal women are essentially ruining the country. So why is that? Why are they going after not just liberal women, but white liberal women specifically? Well, the answer has to do with white supremacy. Now, that might sound crazy, but just bear with me. Just hear me out. Now, there is a real concentrated effort by the right and this administration to uphold what they think America should be, which is a white ethno-state completely dominated by white Christian Western values. And anybody that doesn't fit into that criteria needs to get the hell out of here. That's why you see conservatives constantly fear-mongering about immigrants. Somalians coming into this country is so spooky. After Zohran Mamdani went in New York, they said Muslims were invading the country. And that's why they're going after brown people in general, because they don't think that they're compatible with our Western values, whatever the fuck that means. And it also explains why this administration is going after any brown person they could get their hands on, no matter if you're legal or not. If you speak with an accent, look brown, don't look like how America should look, we're gonna come after you and we're gonna deport you. In fact, this administration is trying to stop even legal immigration from brown countries, while simultaneously shipping in white people from South Africa, refugees as he calls them. So like I said, this administration and the right are trying to uphold white supremacy in this country. But the only way you can truly uphold white supremacy and make it stick is if all white people are in agreement and support that idea, including white liberal women. So when they see these white liberal women out there in the trenches in Minneapolis, standing up to ICE, standing up for their immigrant neighbors, standing up for marginalized communities, that enrages them, because in their eyes, they're betraying their agenda. They're betraying the white agenda, because they know in order for their white supremacy plot to work, they're going to need the help of these white liberal women too. So to all the white liberal women out there, keep doing what you do. Do not crack under pressure. Your voice is important now more than ever. Keep standing up for what's right. Don't let these white supremacists use you as cannon fodder for the race war.
I think one of the most harmful things about racism is that it has essentially made the truth controversial. I know a lot of Black people are not comfortable with telling the truth because there's a level of controversy in that truth. For instance, I made a video recently about how dangerous a lot of white women can be in this society. And there was pushback, which is weird because that's the truth. And over and over and over again, we have seen instances of white women being dangerous to Black people and people of color, and still we find controversy in that fact. For instance, I recently saw a video of a hotel worker being harassed by a white woman. He has to physically subdue this woman from harming him. Now, keep in mind, this is a Black man. And so he is physically restraining this woman because she's trying to harm him. And the police come. Guess who they arrest? You got it, the Black guy. Because individual white women are backed by a system that sees them as damsels in distress. When white women are perceived as damsels in distress, every single person they come in contact with, they are a danger to. Because if you by default see a white woman as a damsel in distress, and by default you see a Black person as dangerous and violent, put two and two together. If there is a Black person or person of color in proximity to a white woman, they are seen and perceived as a threat to that woman. Are you following me? Your personal feelings on this matter are not important, because the fact of the matter is that you are dangerous to Black people and people of color by proximity. The first step in solving racism is white people need to step up and remove the controversy from fact. Your feelings don't matter. The truth does.
I do want to premise this video with a warning and say that I did hit the cart right before this, so proceed at your own risk. But I would say that white women are some of the most difficult people to trust, or like the worst people to trust. Fuck it, I'll say it. Because looking at the white woman or the white girl's role in history, she's always been like a malevolent bystander, if that makes sense. Like, she doesn't have any real power in the system around her, but she can make things happen. She can say certain things. Stay with me. You gotta stay with me. Like, even now, there's already a societal connotation of warning around white women. The trope in the Black community already exists for like Black men to avoid white women. Because like, oh, you'll go to court, or like you'll catch a case, da da da. Like that already exists. Like that belief already exists. And just like thinking about it deeper, I think that like while they don't pose a real threat, like a physical threat, their voice, like their white woman voice, means more to the white man than our Black ass voice ever will. Am I cooking here?
Really? White women are the most dangerous? Not the skinheads or the Republicans or the neo-Yazis? I said it once. I'll say it again. I'll say it a third time. I will scream it from my roof. White women are the most dangerous people to people of color. Why? It's because they forget that just because they are a woman, that it doesn't, negate the fact that they are still white, that they still get privilege, that they get, but the oppression that they are experiencing, even if they are LGBTQ, is lukewarm. It's air conditioned compared to the people of color who are also trans, who are also Muslim, who are also disabled. Like, do you not get that? White women love to hide behind this guise of being an ally, of being there for the movement, without realizing that a lot of the times that means admitting that you're wrong, because as a white person, you have severe blind spots because you are not aware of all the oppression that goes on, because you don't experience all of it. You only experience like a handful of what we have experienced, to the point that we've experienced trauma. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean like being homeless, or if you experience like abuse, doesn't negate that. Like those experiences are your experiences, and hold them close to you. Do whatever you need to let it out. That still doesn't mean you understand the experiences of people of color, the systemic racism, and all the other social aspects of racism. And when it comes to class solidarity, we must attack racism first before we come together as a class. Because you know what? Once we have class solidarity, guess who's going to be in the front leading it? White men, when it should be people of color, you know? Because they're the ones who know what's going on best. They see things firsthand. We see things firsthand. We experience things firsthand. At least the skinheads, the Republicans, the neo-Yazis, they wear their shit proud. They are not ashamed of who they are. They will let me know to my face that they hate me and they want me to. White women will call me their best friend. White women will invite me to their home. White women will say out here, verbalize, I love you, I'm your supporter, always be there for you. Well, up here in their brain, they're thinking, you need to go back to Mexico. You need to go back to Mexico. Does that not sound dangerous to you, or do you just genuinely not understand the concept of being oppressed by any white person and the fact that that is dangerous, especially when you try to pretend to be friends with someone and can't acknowledge the power dynamic?
The biggest reason that I know that white feminism is a real problem is just the perceived threat that so many white women feel from black women just existing. Before I continue, I'm gonna reference myself as attractive. Yes, I know, shocker. I did this before and y'all got on my ass. I don't know what to say, we're gonna keep doing it. But as a black woman, when you like transition from unattractive to being perceived as attractive, you will notice a change in behavior from not only men, but also women, specifically white women. Especially when you don't fit like a certain stereotype that they associate with your race and like what they deem a black woman should act like. It's almost like they don't know how to act with you and they end up, feeling this contempt. They implicitly know that they are the standard. Like they have been socialized to know that. It's been their experience to have men want them of any race. But in that, they also know that whiteness is sort of blankness. And I actually don't mean that in like a mean way. I mean, it is the standard. It's the norm. It is the opposite of exoticism. So in their male-centered minds, they're thinking, yeah, like in majority of cases, I'm going to get the guy. But when they want a little switch up, a change from their usual, that is when women of color, specifically black women, become a big threat. It's like a lot of them sort of know that a lot of girls look like them. A lot of pretty girls look like them. They can never account for the allure of a deviation from that norm. So when they see an attractive black woman, it's like, okay, I have to see it. How can I fight against this? I don't have the facilities to fight against this. And to compensate for that, I think that's why we see a lot of like white women try to play into the features of women of color. The style, the slick backs, the lip filler, aneurysms, all of it. Like they want to be able to oscillate between all types of attractiveness, become this sort of like maxed out woman who has every single thing a guy could ever want at any time. Because they are so used to being the standard, they cannot accept someone wanting something different. So they kind of try to like borrow parts of you to become that so that that won't happen again. It's very interesting and it happens more than you would think.
We live in a world where white women are dangerous as fuck, even more than they've ever been. This lady called ICE on this plant that would have brought so many jobs and opportunities to Americans and so much money to America. And you doubling down on that shit. This is why every day I pray, God, don't put me in a predicament to be surrounded by that type of hatred, because the way that I would slap a bitch to sleep and her ancestors would have to resurrect and come pull her by the ear and tell her to sit the fuck down because she know not what she do, is the way I'd handle this situation. Like, Trump got y'all hoes getting too bold. Even with the workplace disrespect, y'all play entirely too motherfucking much. And one day you gonna catch a bitch on the worst day and she gonna drag you in the worst way. You understand? I'm gonna need y'all to get y'all mind together because y'all don't know what the fuck y'all.
Dear white people, I am not getting out of the way for you on the sidewalk. In another era, it may have been illegal for me to shoulder check you, but you can go ahead and shoulder check me. It is not the 60s anymore. Be considerate of the other people on the sidewalk. I have been screamed off the sidewalk by an old white lady, and while I was walking on the sidewalk, I have had a man yell at me that I belong in a concentration camp. This goes beyond shoulder checking. If you show that you think you are superior to me through your body language, you can catch these consequences of your actions.
Hello brothers and sisters, welcome back to the channel. I'm hoping that you are doing great from wherever you're watching this video. Again, I'm your host and presenter Jindak Stories. Now, the history of race relations in the United States includes many documented issues in which accusations made by white women against black men had devastating consequences. However, it is important to distinguish between discussing specific historical events and making broad claims about all white women as a group. Historians generally focus on how racial power structures, segregation, and social norms enable certain accusations to carry extraordinary weight, often with tragic results for black communities. There's something that I want us I want to make it clear. It is not like all white women who are doing this, right? Let's just be clear. But I'm trying, and I explained to you this is something which is psychological because there was so much patriarchy that was going on, right? Patriarchy that was going on. I don't know why my mind keep on inversing things. It is patriarchy. Patriarchy. I don't know how they allowed this because it psychologically made white women feel low of themselves. So the best way that they could do, their mind told them that if you treat a black person badly, then you have a way of exercising your power. That's how patriarchy made, all these people feel this way. But I want to say something. There are so many things that were intertwined. That is race relations. Because white women were trying to look at, so because of patriarchy, you guys were treating us in this way. Now let's do this. So you get to understand that during the era of slave and later under segregation, the stereotype of black male as a threat to white womanhood became one of the most powerful justifications for racial violence. Following the abolition of slavery, many Southern politicians and media outlets promoted the idea that white women needed protection from black men. So this narrative was often used to justify discriminatory laws of voter suppression and racial terror. The accusation itself frequently became more important than the evidence, creating a system in which black people could be punished without due process. So you feel that a black person, by a view, it was a threat. A black person was seen as a threat. And you realize that it's so much dangerous perception of thinking. It's really, really dangerous perception of thinking if you can't think about it. And one of the most infamous example is the case of Emmett Till in 1955. This was a 14-year boy. Till was a 14-year-old boy from Chicago, was accused of offending a white woman named Caroline Brandt in Mississippi. He was subsequently kidnapped and murdered by a white man. Decades later, Brandt acknowledged that parts of her original account were inaccurate. The case became a catalyst for the modern civil rights movements because it exposed the deadly consequences of racialized accusation. Imagine how crazy it's that. You can just imagine how crazy that could be. So you get to see things out there unraveling. You get to see things out there happening. And you just question your sanity, your presence just being a black person. You can't bump yourself or you can't share space with a white woman because at the end of the day, a white woman feels like she's not safe around you. Feel me? So that's how it was crazy. Another major example is the case of Scottsboro boys' trial. 9 black teenagers were accused by 2 white women of sexually assaulting aboard a train in Alabama. Despite inconsistent testimony and weak evidence, the young men were convicted by all white juries. The case became internationally known as a symbol of racial injustice in the American legal system. Now, historians often point to the Scottsboro case as evidence of how race and gender could intersect to deny black defendants a fair trial. It's really crazy when you try to put the two combos on the same time. The only people that will be disadvantaged is a black person. So, throughout the late 19th century and 20th century, allegations involving white women were frequently used as a pretext for lynchings. Organizations as the National Associations for the Advancement of Colored People documented hundreds of cases in which black men were killed without trials. Research by anti-lynching activists E.W. Wells reveals that many lynching victims had to be accused of violent crimes at all. Well argued that the myth of protecting white women was often used to conceal economic competition political retaliation, or efforts to maintain white supremacy. So the broader social context is also important. Under segregation, white women occupied a unique position within the racial hierarchy. Although they faced gender discrimination, they were also beneficiaries of racial privilege. So in many communities, a white woman's accusation against a black person could trigger immediate action by law enforcement or mobs. This imbalance of power meant that even unverified claims could have life-altering consequences for black individuals and their families. So the damage extended beyond individual cases. Fear of accusations influenced where black people could travel, could work, could socialize, or just seek economic opportunities. Many black men understood that a misunderstanding, a rumor, or accusation could place them in a grave danger. So this atmosphere of fear became one of the mechanisms through which racial segregation and social control were maintained. And at the same time, many white women also played important role in challenging racism. Okay, I think it's important also to recognize that figures such as Virginia Dare and Anne Braden openly opposed segregation and supported civil rights efforts. Historians historians therefore caution against viewing history through the action of a single demographic group. The central issue was not simply individual, but a larger system that gave certain voices more power and credibility than others. So the legacy of these historical events continue to influence discussions about race, about justice, and credibility today. Cases such as the 1989 Central Park jogger case and other wrongful convictions have reignited debates about how racial stereotypes can affect public perceptions and legal outcomes. So although society has changed significantly, many scholars still argue that understanding these historical patterns remains essential for addressing present-day inequalities. So brothers and sisters, please let me know what you all think about this, right? As you know, I'm your host and presenter, Generic Stories, but until then, I'm hoping to see you on my next video. Until then, peace, love, and harmony. Salute.